Welcome everyone. I appreciate everybody's time. It's Friday, so weekend is always good. And like I always say, you could have been anywhere, but you chose to be here on a Friday night to help spread the knowledge, to share in the cybersecurity, personal development, and then also sharing our knowledge with like-minded people. So today's topic, we'll be looking at one of the very I'll say our first line of defense when it comes to security, that is identity and access management. We are going to be looking at it from what it is and what is involved, and then also from the career perspective, what you can do as an identity and access management professional, if you want to look at that as a niche in the security space. So that doesn't make identity and access management an area that stands on its own. It's under cybersecurity, but you can also look at that as a niche. Just like how data privacy is a niche, other areas are also niches. You can specialize in those areas, or you can focus on those areas, or you can choose to work in those areas to get some experience and then switch to other areas as you might please. Right. So I appreciate everybody's time. We are starting here at time now. So I think from yesterday, this was supposed to have been sent out Monday, but we waited till yesterday because we were pushing some of the dates to the right side. For the first time, I think we've been doing some promotions. We've been doing 30% for the longest, and we're still doing 30% with 10% for Dr. Edu's birthday. So that makes it 40% of any of our courses that you are interested in, that you want to take. So, and specifically for Cyber Awareness Month, that is why we have 40 instead of 30% that like we normally do for the different holidays that we have in different occasions. So if you are new to the Eretmis family, I'm Dr. Emmanuel Edu. I'm a former United States Army captain. I'm a QSA. I'm the CEO of Eretmis Inc. and founder of Eretmis Academy. Eretmis Academy is cybersecurity institute based in New York. Eretmis Inc. is a cybersecurity consulting firm. We're a QSA company based in New York. We do QSA consulting and QSA assessments, and then also anything and everything cybersecurity as well. Former professor at University of Maryland Global Campus and CTC. And so we are going to jump into what we are going to be looking at for tonight. So for tonight, and before I even get into that, so cyber chats, I think there was an email, somebody was, when we sent the invitation out for cyber chats, somebody was saying, no, I'm not interested in identity access management. I just want to learn cybersecurity or just learn something. I really don't remember like exactly what, but something on the lines of, I don't want to, enroll in identity and access management course, but in some other area of cybersecurity. And then we sent a reply that this is not a course that you're enrolling in. It is free. It's for the whole entire community. We meet to discuss different cybersecurity topics. And as part of Cybersecurity Awareness Month, we started with looking at topics of like how to defend ourselves. And it is only prudent that we also look at some of the key things that we can do to protect ourselves. And then also, this is a very important niche or a very important aspect of cybersecurity that we are going to be looking at. So we'll first discuss cyber news, like we always do, and then we will jump into our internship and our PCI course that will be starting. The dates have moved a week from the original tentative dates. So these dates are set in stone, 28th and then 23rd for the PCI class will start on the 23rd. That is a Monday, and not the PCI internship, but the general internship / workshop that we organize for entry-level students and non-entry-level students will start on the 28th. Now we will jump into cyber identity and access management, and then we will select our 2 winners for tonight for our cybersecurity scholarship, and also for all previous we have 5 now. We have 5 more to go. So we select 2 tonight, and then there will be 3 left. So we can choose to maybe select 1 pair till the end of the month, or just select the 3 for next week, right? So all that is still in the air. Now we are going to move into our cyber news. And for Oh, before we jump into cyber news, last week we talked about this, but then I wanted to revisit this briefly for anybody who wasn't here. So if you are planning on taking cybersecurity certifications like Security Plus, CISSP, and the rest, or if you have one, these certifications, for every 3 years you have to renew, right? I think for CISSP and the rest, even not 3 years, but for the year you have to submit some points. For 3 years you have up to 3 years to renew, right? But yearly you can submit some continuous education documents for points, and if that is enough, then when your 3 year is up, you don't have to resit for the exam, right? So it is the same for all of them. Now, what we are doing here every Friday for Eretmis Cyber Chat, you can use this screenshots of this, and also if you need like any form of certification from us, we can give you that, and you can use that for your continuous learning points, right? So just to let you know, if you were not here last week, and for CompTIA, this is how you go about submitting your CEUs, right? So we discussed this a little bit more in depth last week, so we are going to jump on, right? So in the news, again, is Facebook. So I'm not sure whether like 3 months ago or 4 months ago, when we did our weekly cyber news, we discussed Facebook, and the topic was that Facebook users were having issues because their accounts will be blocked because Facebook, Facebook will target them as that account being fake, right? Because attackers are duplicating people's accounts, and Facebook, I think on monthly basis, I don't remember the exact numbers, but they were deleting almost like 9 million plus fake accounts, right? So sometimes they will, an original account or original accounts might find themselves in that list, and their accounts will be suspended, right? And there is almost very little help when it comes to getting your account back. So we are going to jump into in the news this week. Also, Facebook, they are still having copyright infringement scams or scams, which is affecting actual users who are actual users, not scammers. And how this happens is what we talked about last week. So the scammers will send you a phishing email, and the email they will make it look like it's from Facebook. So it has Facebook's logo and everything, right? It might probably even say Facebook in the sender's space, right? So once they send this, they will let you know that your account has been compromised, so your account has been locked, and they will make a link available for you to click on for you to be able to rectify this problem and get your accounts back. But what they do is they duplicate. So there is an app that you can use for this. It's very simple. Everybody on here can learn how to do this in a minute. You can duplicate any website, right? Any website that you want. You can duplicate it in a matter of seconds. So they will duplicate Facebook's website. The link that they are going to send you, when you click on it, it looks just exactly like Facebook's website, and it will have everything that is on Facebook's website. So you are going to type in your name and your username, and what it does is, like we explained this last week, once you type that into the fake Facebook account, Facebook page, all that information will go to the attacker, and the page will be refreshed, and it will take you to the original Facebook or the actual Facebook page, right? Now, once you are there, it will prompt you to also enter your username and password again. And when you do, it is actually going to log you into your Facebook account, and you see that your account has not been blocked, or you think the problem has been rectified, but unknowingly to you, attackers have your username and password now. How they can log into that is how they do account takeovers and the rest. And Facebook is trying to crack down on this, but then it's affecting people who are, the actual victims of such, forms of attacks, right? So, and then when they do reach out to Facebook, they are, running into a huge brick wall. They don't seem to get any help, right? So this was also in the news. So for tonight, we'll just look at one cyber news, and we are going to move on. So when it comes to identity and access management, or cybersecurity in general, right? It's something that we are all living it on a daily basis. Whether you know it or not, or whether you want to live it or not, you are living. Right? Now, what we see here on the screen, everybody has it. So why do you have a password on your phone? Or why do you have a facial recognition on your phone? Why do you have your fingerprints, using that as a form of protection for your phone, right? Maybe if you knew already or you didn't know, what you're doing is part of identity and access management, because you don't want anybody to just take your phone and will be able to start going through your pictures or just making calls on your behalf or checking your email, or right, your phone is supposed to be your private something, so you want to keep it that way. So, and also when somebody steals your phone, they are not going to have access to your information. They will have the physical phone, but if they don't have your password, and sometimes I think for iPhone and the rest, it's hard to bypass the password if you don't have the original iCloud email that was used to set the account or the password for that. So even if you are the original owner and you forgot about the password that you use for your iCloud and you couldn't reset it, or you forgot about like the email itself, I mean, you can still go in there and find the email, but if you are missing something on those lines, it's almost impossible for you to recover everything back. Now, for some different versions of iPhone, it's easier than others, and also for Android, for some different versions, is easier than others. But this is just to let you know that we are all living identity and access management on a daily basis, right? Sometimes you put these locks on there also to prevent your kids from running down your phone, using it to play games, whenever they have the chance to, grab your phone, right? And some kids even know their parents' passwords. And some of them, when you sleep, they'll take your fingerprints and just put it on there, and then they start playing on it, right? That is a different topic for a different day. Now, this also, we will see some of these at different job sites or different places. Why do we also use this? Same thing. It falls under identity and access management, right? And we are going to discuss the four main categories of identity and access management, right? And then also, everybody has this also at home, right? Maybe yours is not as many, or like your locks are not being exaggerated as this one, but at least you have maybe 2 locks or 3 locks on your door. Why do you have that? That also falls under identity and access management, because all these 3 things that we just looked at, right? They have one goal, and the goal is to prevent unauthorized unauthorized access, right? If we just wanted anybody to come in, I mean, why lock the door? Or why put a lock on your phone? If you just want anybody to be able to pick your phone and access it, then we're not going to lock it, right? Things that we think they are not important, people can access them, we don't really lock them or even try to, right? So although this is on your physical door, the phone was a logical lock. The fingerprint for your physical access into your company was a combination of technology and physical control. But the goal here is what? To prevent unauthorized access, right? So with that, we are going to jump into identity and access management itself. So identity and access management is one of the major areas, or like one of the key areas within cybersecurity, similar to cryptography, risk management, and the rest, right? It's one of the key areas of cybersecurity that you cannot, or you don't have the luxury of saying, I don't want to be technical, so I don't want to learn that part. Identity and access management cuts across any niche that you want to go into, including identity and access management niche itself, right? If you want to go into compliance or governance or GRC, if you want to go into SOC, if you want to go into, name it, pen testing, anywhere you want to go, blue team or blue side, red side, anywhere you want to go, you are going to encounter identity and access management. And like I said earlier, it is almost like our first line of defense, right? Because if attackers have access to our systems, our network, then, I mean, there is nothing else, right? They can do whatever they want once they have that initial, or they've compromised our confidentiality. They can, through that also compromise integrity and everything else, right? So by definition, right, identity and access management is a cybersecurity discipline. So first, it's a cybersecurity. We are referring to identity and access management as it pertains to cybersecurity or information security. Outside information security, any other meaning that they have for it or whatever it is used for, that is not really relevant to our discussion tonight. So it is a niche within cybersecurity or discipline within cybersecurity for managing users. So managing users will include user identities and their access and their permissions that they have to access systems, data, resources, networks, and many more, right? So like the example that we started with, you have a lock on your phone. Anybody else that you want to be able to have access to your phone, you are going to tell them the lock. So they will have the lock also. They will be able to type in the PIN and it's going to open, right? Anybody else within your household that you don't want to have access to your phone, you are not going to disclose the secret PIN that you have for your lock to them. So everybody can see that you don't have to be a company or a huge institution to be practicing identity and access management. Even at our individual levels, we are doing this on a daily basis, right? In your house, you have a place that you don't want your kids to go, you lock it. If you have maybe a little bit, teens, 15, 12, thereabout, and you need them to be able to grab something from there for you from time to time, they will have access to that room or that, area of the house. So we are enforcing identity and access management. We are enforcing user identity and also permissions. So who has permission to do what on what system? So when we bring it to the organizational side, within our organization, we are dealing with systems, we are dealing with data and other resources, and then also the company's network, right? So on there, we cannot just give everybody the same level of permissions or privileges. And what do I mean by privileges? So what can you do on your company's network in terms of what resources you can have access to, what you can see, is what we term as privileges, right? So if, for example, you can onboard other people onto your company's network, you can give them rights or privileges, you can delete the account, then you are considered a privileged user, right? For a normal user, all that you can do is just to do your work, right? So if you need financial documents, you'll be able to have access to that, and that's it. You wouldn't have access to IT information and the rest, right? So when we talk about identity and access management, our focus is simply on being able to manage users in terms of their identity and also permissions we give them on our network, right? Now, what is the goal behind identity and access management? Well, different companies have different situations. No company, or even if it's within the same franchise, they might have like different objectives. They might have like different setup sometimes. How they really implement identity and access management might change, but the overall goal behind identity and access management does not change, right? The overall goal is to prevent unauthorized access to our data, our systems. So how we go about executing that, really we are at liberty, just follow some best practices within the industry and you'll be fine. So our technologies, the processes we are using might differ, but the goal still remains the same, right? So with that, we are going to move on to how identity and access management works, right? So I'm still going to piggyback on the goal or the core function or the core aim of why we even worry ourselves about identity and access management is to make sure only authorized personnel will have access to data, systems, and networks, resources. And then also, we are trying to prevent hackers from having easy access to our systems, our data, our network, right? And then also, identity and access management helps us to ensure that we are giving people just enough privileges that they need or permissions that they need on our network to be able to function, right? So without identity and access management, then we are all going to be equal, do anything that they want, but that shouldn't be the case, because then people will be doing things that they are not even aware of. They will be deleting stuff by mistake. They will be giving people access, without consulting anyone. So within your company, every company is unique. You have unique, strategies and processes that you're going to be using to be meeting this. But overall, like the overall aim or the overall agenda, when we are pushing this, when we are pushing the identity and access management agenda, is to help prevent unauthorized access to our system and also to, our network. So how it is implemented, really, companies are at liberty to use whatever best practices that they deem fit, and then also based on their budget, based on their maturity level in terms of security maturity, right? So all that will influence how they implement identity and access management. Like I said, the overall goal is not going to change. Right? Now, when it comes to identity and access management implementation, at least within your company, you should cover these 4 key functions. So the first key function is identity lifecycle management. The second one is access control. The next one is authentication and authorization, and then we'll look at identity governance. So we will briefly look at these, and then we'll move on. So what do we mean by identity lifecycle management? Now, let me just go back one. This list is not by any means all of it. So if you follow this, it doesn't mean you cannot add anything else to your portfolio when it comes to identity and access management implementations, right? But at least you should have these 4. So let's move into identity lifecycle management. So what is identity lifecycle management? Like I always say, in cybersecurity, we don't try to be fancy. 90% of the time, the meaning is in the name, right? So identity lifecycle management. Now, when people assume identities on our networks or on our systems, how do we manage that identity till the time that we are going to, dispose of that identity, or we are going to take all access from that identity because the person is leaving our company and they are not going to be working for our company anymore. So the managing and the maintenance of identity within the company falls under the identity lifecycle management. So identity lifecycle management is a process of creating and maintaining digital identities for every human or non-human entities or entity on our network. So when somebody is being employed, we do what we call onboarding. So during onboarding, HR and everybody else involved will be doing their part, right? Finance folks will be doing their part, making sure they have your account number and everything so you get paid. The security folks and IT, the IT folks are also going to be granting you logical access or digital access onto their company's infrastructure. That way you'll be able to work and function effectively. Grant you access to their email system and all that. So how we manage the identity that we've created for folks within our company falls under identity, or is what we term as identity lifecycle management. So it includes your onboarding and offboarding. So now when somebody is leaving the company also, we have to do what we call offboarding, and in some other sense, we call it as a exit interview, right? So it's not like John is leaving and he's like, hey, or we are firing John and just we tell John is so mad, he just leaves during lunch and never returns, and he still has access to our network. He has our ID card. It doesn't work that way, right? We have to sit him down, do exit interview, and that is what we call offboarding. So whatever belongs to the company, you are going to take back. Most especially for us as security folks, we are looking at access to our network. Anything that they can use to access anything in terms of IT within the company, we have to take away. So onboarding and offboarding, exit interviews, they all fall under identity lifecycle management. So every company is supposed to have identity lifecycle management, which should include onboarding, offboarding, giving privileges and managing the identity that people assume based on the privileges that we give. Now we come to one of the biggest ones within this space, which is called access control. So access control, what we are all doing with our smartphones and our other devices and tablets directly falls under access control, which also falls under identity and access management. Right? So what is access control? I don't even have to define this one. The pin that you have on your phone to prevent people from having access to your phone is access control, right? The lock that you have on your door at home is access control. When you lock your car, access control, right? You don't want people whom you don't want to have access to your stuff. You want to prevent them from having access to it. So we put in some measures. It can be 4 locks on your door. It can be 1. How you really implement it doesn't really matter. But at the end of the day, the goal is preventing such people from having access, unauthorized access, right? So with access control, for the digital IDs or like the identities that people on our network are going to assume, we have to be able to assign them certain level of privileges and certain level of access on our network, right? So if somebody works within HR, they don't need to have a privilege of being able to configure your firewall, right? Or changing your firewall configuration, because that is not what HR does. So we have to limit their access, right? They cannot have access to certain things that they don't need for their job, or their job doesn't require them to, require them to have that access to be able to function, right? So when it comes to access control, we give privileges and permissions, and we do that based on what you need to be able to function at work or to be able to do your work, right? So most companies now, almost everybody simply goes with role-based access control. Now, if you go through entry level or if you go through entry level, we break this down more, or the security plus class or CISSP, we look at the different types of access controls, which role-based access control is one. We have mandatory-based, attribute-based, and the rest. So you can research into these ones. Now, role-based access control, we give people access based on the role they have within the company, right? So if you're a CEO, and CEOs are supposed to have access to financial documents, HR documents, and the rest, whatever you need to work as a CEO, we give you access to that. If you are a security analyst, we give you access to be able to function as a security analyst. We are not going to give you the privileges of a CEO. That way you can have an oversight on everything that everybody is doing. That is not your job. So you don't need that access, right? So what we do when it comes to access control is to prevent what we call privilege creep, right? Privilege creep, it simply is people accumulating access within the company as they move from different departments or different areas to other areas, right? So I used to be the HR manager. So I had access to HR manager, everything that I need to function as an HR manager. Now I'm no more HR manager. They moved me to become a cybersecurity analyst. They didn't take the HR manager access. I'm a cybersecurity analyst, so they gave me more access as a security analyst. Now I have these two different types of access. Now I move into the finance department to become the finance manager. They gave me that access. They didn't take the previous 2 access that I had. So now as I'm moving through different areas within the company, to get to a point, I'll have access to everything. And you don't want that, because that day that, that person is going to get like is not in a good mood, or they just want to do something bad, they can cause a lot of harm, right? They can be your biggest insider threat ever, because they have access to everything. And most especially if it's not just access on-prem, but they have remote access, that is even worse, right? They can sit home and do anything. So when it comes to access control, we try to give the bare minimum in terms of privileges or access for our employees to be able to function and work effectively. Another example of these that everybody or most parents on here are practicing, that you are not even aware, on your child's tablet or on your child's whatever device they use, there is parental control, right? Everybody knows, even for your TV, for YouTube and the rest, there are parental controls on there. So when you go there and you are configuring the parental control, okay, the system, they shouldn't be able to turn it on the TV or turn on their device maybe after 5 or after 6 or after whatever time. They can't go to these websites, anything labeled adult. They can, unknowingly to you, you are a system admin now. Yeah, you are doing this and you are probably saying, I don't know any IT, anything. But you are working as a system admin with your kids, right? Now you are assigning privileges. Although they have the tablet, you are restricting what they can do on it. You are practicing access control at the highest level, right? Because you are the system admin for your home. So dads and moms on here, you all have been system admins at a point in time. So don't say I don't know anything about IT or cybersecurity. You've been living it, but maybe probably somebody has not really drawn your attention to it this way, or like in a way for you to really appreciate what is really going on. All right, so with that, we are going to move on into the third one, which is authentication and authorization. So this is also one of the key pillars when it comes to identity and access, or the key functions. So authentication and authorization, when we are assigning privileges to people, they will first have to assume an identity, right? So you create a username. Mostly the very simple ones is to create a username. That is an identity that you are assuming, right? And then you create a password. So the password is going to be used to authenticate you, and if everything is good, then you get authorization into the system or whatever resource that you wanted access to. Right? So with authentication and authorization, the goal here is that most companies in today's threat landscape, the traditional way of using just one factor of authentication, using your username and password, that is woefully not enough to help you to stay on the right side of security, right? So when it comes to authentication and authorization, also maybe for folks who are not very familiar with authentication, there are five factors of, we call it 5 factors of authentication. So you might probably have heard 2FA or 2-factor authentication or dual-factor authentication or multi-factor authentication. It is not as complicated as you might think. Some people think, oh, that is technical. It is a concept, right? Now, when it comes to authentication, we have concepts that we use. And like I said, we have five factors. Those concepts, we call them factors. So they are something you know, something you have, something you are, something somewhere you are, right? So hopefully that is all 5, right? If not, research and find the other one. But it's very easy. Something you are, something you know, somewhere you are, something you do, something you are. Yeah, I think I mentioned that also already. So 5. Maybe I'm counting wrong, but 5. All right. So with those, if you use a combination of 2, is dual factor or 2-factor. If you use a combination of 3, then it's multi-factor authentication. Right? Now, if your authentication checks out, then you'll be granted access called authorization. So when you go through identity and access management class, first thing that they will teach you is the AAA, but really it is IAAA, 3 A's, no, 4 A's. So it's identity, authentication, authorization, the other one.
Accounting.
Accounting, yes. Thank you. Accounting, auditing. So those will form the 4, right? So IAAA, 4 A's, but mostly we call it the AAA. But, we just take out, I'm not sure if it's auditing or accounting, one of those. But that is identity and access management class 101. You are going to go through that. Now, for what we are discussing here within your company, when it comes to identity and access management, when it comes to authorization and authentication and authorization, our focus should be moving away from using just one factor of authentication, which is just using your username and password, right? So we have to spice it up, at least do a dual factor or 2-factor, right? If you want to be an overachiever, just multi-factor will be enough. Now, some companies will say we are using multi-factor, but then in actual fact, they are using just 2, right? And when we do I think for PCI crash course and also for internship and the rest, I give some scenarios and examples and try to see if, people are really paying attention, just to trick them, right? So you can be using 3 things for authentication, but you are still using 1 factor of authentication. So that doesn't qualify to be a multi-factor authentication. So for example, I have a system that if I want to log into it, I need to use my fingerprints. I have to speak. I have to also use my face. So facial recognition, fingerprints, and then I'm going to speak. It is going to recognize my voice and it will grant me access. Is this a multi-factor authentication or not? Anybody wants
It's not. No.
Okay.
It's something you are.
Yeah, they are all something you are, right? They are all something that can be found on you as a person. So the fact that I'm using my, fingerprint, my facial recognition, my voice, doesn't make it 3 factors or doesn't make it multi-factor authentication. Now, some companies, it will amaze you, some companies are using something similar, right? And they think, oh yeah, we are implementing multi-factor authentication, and you are just scratching your head like, hey, do they even understand what is going on? Right. So just for everybody on here, just pay attention to that. And now with this, you are also been living this. If you try to go to, mostly I like to use the banks because they are the ones who are trying to prevent themselves from all these scammers moving around. So if you go to your bank's website and you try to log in, or you're using their app, instead of just using your username and password, sometimes they will prompt you to also set up your thumbprint or fingerprint. That way, that will serve as a second layer. And also when you want to transfer money or something, sometimes they will send you a PIN for you to confirm, right? At least they will know for a fact that if you have access to the account and you have access to the phone, then it's you. So with that, good luck going back to the bank and saying that wasn't you. They'll look at you like you are growing trees on your forehead. They are not going to buy into that. If it is you or not you, if somebody knows your PIN, they have access to your phone, and then it's you. All right, so let's move on to the last one in the list. So the last one we are looking at, still piggybacking on what we just talked about. I think we elaborated a little bit more on the multi-factor authentication here. Now, another way that we can also put extra layers of security in place is using single sign-on right? So single sign-on, mostly for convenience, but it also helps enforce security to some point. And then also adaptive authentication. So adaptive authentication is a solution which changes the number of authentication factors that we are going to use based on risks that it has identified, right? So if it was just one factor and it's based on, you know, whatever setup or like whatever configuration in terms of whatever AI or stateful setup that they have, if it picks up on some signals that something has changed, maybe probably your normal IP address has changed or something has changed, so they suspect it might not be you, then it is going to switch. The adaptive authentication is going to switch up on you. So instead of just using maybe your facial recognition, is going to ask for something else, right? Maybe some secret question that it asked you a while ago and you answered something on those lines. Now, the last item that we are actually going to go to is identity governance. So what is identity governance? Now, the identity that we assume on our company's network, we have to keep track of all those identities and what they are doing on our network. So identity governance is the process of tracking what users are doing with our resources and also on our network. So we have identity and access management systems that we use to monitor user behavior, right? And also to help prevent or catch hackers way ahead of time. Even for those who have been able to sneak onto our networks, it will help us to catch them also as well. Right? So now we are going to look at, I think, some of the tools or some of the solutions when it comes to identity and access management that we have out there. Right? So with everything that we discussed, there is no way you'll be able to do all that manually. So we have automated systems, automated identity and access management solutions. So when we say solutions, it's just a fancy way of saying software, right? Identity and access management software that is being used to do everything that we talked about, right? Now, some of these identity and access management solutions are what we have listed here. So this is by vendors, and you know how they call their software is the list that we have here, right? So first off, you have to know, you know, when it comes to your cybersecurity tools, identity and access management tools, what are they used for? Help streamline identity and access management. What are some of the brand names within this space? Now, Okta is one of the biggest ones now. Most folks are using, even if you don't work in cybersecurity, you might be using Okta to help you, you know, manage your identity and your logins and stuff. I think somebody keeps on muting themselves. So Auth0, and the list goes on. All these are some of the popular ones that are out there, right? If you know someone is not on here, this is by no means the whole entire list. It's just some of it. So for folks who want to try their hands on some of these tools, for some of these tools, some are open source. And what I mean by open source is some are free. Even the ones that are not free, sometimes they'll have free versions or they have trial versions. So maybe try it for a week, try it for 2 weeks, try it for a month. And that is how you practice, and that is how you get you familiarize yourself with some of these tools. So when it comes to tools within cybersecurity, please don't sit there and say, but I don't know them because I don't have any working experience. I think that is just the lazy man approach. You can go to these websites, these tools, vendors, they have free versions, they have videos on how to use their tools, because they have to provide that information, because then nobody's going to use their tool, right? So knowing how to use one tool it doesn't really make you the best cybersecurity professional, because that tool can just, a different company might not be using it, right? So just understanding security really well, the tools, you can easily switch from one to the other, right? That doesn't also mean don't learn the tools. You have to learn the tools. but you have to get your priorities right. So if you have just an hour in your life to learn cybersecurity, don't use even 15 minutes learning tools. So that is probably the moral of the story when it comes to tools. That also doesn't mean that I'm undermining or like underplaying the value of tools within the security space. But reason why I'm saying that is different companies use different tools. And when it comes to using these tools, it's just a matter of which of these vendors or like which of these companies has a really good sales team or who knows who, and they are willing to accept you onto their company and have them pay you all this money to use your tool. It is simply that, right? Because almost tools within one category, they almost work the same way. Right? So if you know how to use one, you can literally, transition into using the others as well. So if you just spend all your time learning tools, there's always going to be a new tool every day. So you can't keep up. But if you spend your time really learning the inside and out of security, like a major area like identity and access management, understanding the cybersecurity architecture nature of it, right? The design of it, the implementation of it, and why, and then the concepts within this space, that is what is going to help you to really break down problems and analyze stuff, right? To even help you pick which tools are going to help your company. So, but still, you still have to learn the tools. So I'm not, it seems like I'm going in circles, but probably you get my point, right? Your focus shouldn't be just on tools. Your focus should be understanding what is going on. The tools, you can easily learn the tools. So that is just an added bonus if you know how to use most of the tools. Now, when it comes to why we should even bother ourselves with identity and access management, like I said, in most cases, it's our first line of defense. Not most cases, it is our first line of defense, right? If somebody gets hold of your username and password and your phone, so they can accept the PIN that will be sent to them, I mean, we are in trouble because now they can assume your identity. They are you, everything as you. They can go into your bank account, transfer all your money. They can purchase stuff in your name, right? And we don't want any of that. So that is why on the individual level, we have to keep an eye on how we manage our identity and access management area of what we do on a daily basis for ourselves and our family. And then also on the company side, on the corporate side, identity and access management for every single framework that is out there, right? Every single security standard that your company, external security standard that your company will have to stay in compliance with, there is identity and access management in it somewhere, right? And what do I mean by that? There is an area, either a control or a requirement that you have to follow that borders on identity and access management, right? Sometimes they have a full requirement or a full control and sub controls or requirements in there that you have to follow. So you cannot escape identity and access management. I mean, it is everywhere. And so for regulatory compliance, it helps companies if they're already following best practices when it comes to identity and access management. Now, digital transformation, it helps companies to really expand and then also at the same time keep a firm, grab on what is going on in terms of who is doing what and who is responsible for what. And then also data security, it will help you protect the data of your company and that of your customers. So now let's move into the career aspect of this. So for folks who would like, so there are a lot of cybersecurity jobs that will focus on identity and access management, right? So you can see a cybersecurity analyst job dash identity and access management, cybersecurity manager, identity and access management. That doesn't mean you are not a cybersecurity professional first, regardless of whichever niche you want to go into. You have to understand that you are first a cybersecurity professional before that niche. That is why it is good to have a good foundation in security, not just jump into a niche and just learn that niche, because that niche is based on what? It's based on cybersecurity itself, right? So for you to be able to function well in identity and access management, if you have a good working knowledge in cybersecurity, you'll be able to function well. You'll be fine in there. Now, these are some of the skills: in-depth understanding of networking and system admin, network security control measures, cloud security, coding. So coding to an extent, right? Coding is not set in stone. It's not like if you don't know coding, you can't do this. It depends on where you find yourself. Now, knowledge of virtual machines and operating systems. So for folks, I think for everybody who's gone through entry level, the only thing is we don't do, even for coding, we take you through a little bit of bash, right? So that we wouldn't say that is coding, but at least you know how to move around in a Linux environment, or even in like a Windows command line environment. But everything else, virtual machines, you are going to be fighting with virtual machines almost the whole time. You know, some will work fine, some wouldn't work, and people are reaching out and they are, this is taking all my time, right? So, but when you see it here, you are smiling. I mean, of course I can. The network security controls, you go through all these also. So these are not all of it. We are going to look at some more skills that you need to be able to function as an identity and access management personnel. Right. So also a solid understanding of user provisioning, account creation and management, application of industry standard protocols such as KBROS, OAuth, and the rest, application of identity and authentication solutions like Okta and the rest, knowledge of privilege access management, ability to compile reports, and also some knowledge of script writing. Then we'll look at one of the key areas also as well. So needed soft skills, strong communication and interpersonal skills, ability to work independently and also with a team, an eye for detail. So you have to be somebody who pays attention to detail, great organizational and motivated outlook, an analytical mind, and also comfortable working with data sets, right? So which these you don't have to necessarily be bringing from cybersecurity or IT. It can be from anywhere else that you've been working for the years. Now, when it comes to job titles or some of the top job vacancies, right? Mostly within this space, you'll be working as a practitioner or as a senior practitioner, right? So senior practitioner, you'll be, in a team leadership position. You'll be responsible for managing and training other employees. With a practitioner, you are going to be working under a senior practitioner who is going to be your team lead. So you are just going to be doing what you are told to do, right? And if you want to go above and beyond, you are going to do more than that. And also for your seniors, they are also going to act as a funnel, or they'll be consulting, sometimes escalating any incident, any incidents that borders on identity and access management, right? And then also, if you want to really move up the chain within this space, you are eventually going to become the chief data protection officer or chief technical officer, right? Or if there is anything like chief information identity and access management, we are going to also be that. So with that, I think we are going to wrap up, right? Hopefully this helped, at least just to give you some warm and fuzzy about identity and access management. And also, if you take everything that we went over here and you run with it, you'll be able to, dive deep into this and also come up with more when it comes to identity and access management, and the niche within that space that you can, you can chase or go after if that is an area that you are very passionate about. Now, just to reiterate our 40% special discount for October, because it's October awareness, it's Cyber Awareness Month, and also Dr. Edu's birthday, right? So our PCI class now set in stone. We are starting on the 23rd, our payment security and compliance class on the 23rd. That is when the new cohort is starting. And then also for our internship, that is the normal cybersecurity internship, where you get to, practice what you've been learning, in cybersecurity so far, how to work for a company, working on doing audits, security assessment, posture, incident response, name it, gap analysis, and the rest. You'll be working on such projects in the cybersecurity internships like workshop. So with that, we have different payment options also all on our website. You can take a look at that. And we have a WhatsApp group. This is the number right here. If you're interested in joining the WhatsApp group, I think we're almost like 820 800 and something now. And a very quiet group, a very interesting group, right? We discuss cybersecurity things for the most part. We try to keep it civil and very decent that way, and also not to entertain anything outside cybersecurity, purely cybersecurity. And then when we have meetings such as this one, we post it, we post them on there. And then also if there are any cyber reports that are out there, we will post them on there. So just to generally keep you informed about security and what is going on within the security space. So I appreciate everybody's time. Now we are going to take some questions and then we'll move into our winners for tonight. So our scholarship, we still have 3 people to go, 5 more people to award the scholarships to. And then for our previous winners, when we have all 10, then we are going to send you a list of the breakdown. So which winners are going to be pursuing which course and all that. So please hang on tight. If you've not received any follow-up information, you are still a winner. You are going to receive your prize. So we have 2 hands up. Prince, go ahead, and then Susanna will go if I got your name right. Go ahead, Prince.
Yes, Dr. Edu, thank you for your time. I want to ask a question about the PCI DSS classes that is actually starting this 23rd. Any information about the class, when it starts? Because some of us are working professionals, so we want to make sure that we're able to join the class and the times that are favorable to us as well.
Okay. Thank you for that question. So for all our PCI courses, we have for the live sessions, it is in the evenings. So either 7 p.m. you are going to start 7 p.m. or 8 p.m. Eastern, and either Mondays and Wednesdays or Tuesdays and Thursdays. So I say either or, because depending on your cohort, the time available to your cohort might be Mondays and Wednesdays, or Thursdays and Tuesdays, right? But it is all in the evening, 7 p.m. Eastern or 8 p.m. Eastern, depending on where we put your cohort also as well. So let's say it begins at 7 p.m. So if you'll be able to, for those days, you'll be able to join, that is fine. Now, if you are not able to join, we record all our meetings and we post them in the classroom area, so you can watch the replay. And then also there is an online version of the course that you are going to have access to as well. So once you enroll, you have access to the online version and the live session.
So how many hours on those days, like 7 p.m. to like 9 p.m.?
Yeah, so so tentatively 7 to, mostly we do an hour and a half, right? So if it's 7 to 8 or 7 to 8:30, depending. First we used to do 2.5 hours, but we've cut that down at least an hour and a half, an hour every night. Thank you, Prince, for that question. Please go ahead, Susanna, right? I think I got that.
Yeah, right. Hi. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Hi, everybody. We spoke about artificial intelligence last week, and I wanted to say that the phobia that people are having over the artificial intelligence is they think it's going to take the job of the average Joe. Because you said that it's man that developed this whole AI situation. So it cannot do without man, which is true. But the regular Joe, like a cashier working in a store, now they are using more technology whereby You just have to scan and go. So if, for instance, Sam's Club was hiring about 15, 20 cashiers or maybe 10 cashiers, now the number will drop. They might need only 1 or 2. So I think the phobia that people are having over the artificial intelligence situation is the jobs that will be done away with. Like they are afraid that if I'm a cashier, my job is compromised. So the new gold mine is cybersecurity. If I don't get with the program, I cannot do just a regular job. Companies are employing machines in factories to do those things instead of man. So I think that's where the issue is. I am not disputing the fact that man developed artificial intelligence, but I think a lot of jobs, like regular jobs for people, will just be compromised.
Yes,
So
and I think
that's what I wanted to say.
Yeah, but thank you, Susanna. You have a very valid point, right? But over our development as humans and over like our development for the past 100 years, so about there's always a stage like that. So we used to ride horses, and then the people who were the horses owners and breeding horses. Now, when there were introduction of maybe cars or bicycles, they were like, no, this is gonna, and then they had to give in, right? So if I was a horse owner, guess what I was going to do? I was going to learn how to drive a car. Now become a driver, right? So you have to continuously improve yourself. If you don't, then obviously technology is going to take some of that job away and you wouldn't be able to, so just imagine, back in the day, maybe when there were no money counting machines and you went to the bank with $500,000 and somebody had to count it by hand. If they made a mistake or like they miscount, they have to start all over again, that bill. But now you just put all of that in there and just sit there and watch, right? So are we going to fight the person who developed that machine because they were thinking ahead? Not necessarily. The moral of the story is improve your skill sets, right? So as AI is getting closer, you're also moving further away because you have become so much unreplaceable. So, but you have a valid point. If you don't improve your skills and you just want to stay where you are, then obviously technology is going to overtake you. And then you are going to be that guy or girl who is just complaining about how technology, if you know where technology lives, you are going to arrest technology, take him to jail. Right? So we just have to improve our skill sets all the time. So we have to be continuous learners, continuously improving ourselves for wherever you find yourself in whichever industry, right? If not, then industry is always going to catch up with you in terms of technology and in terms of development. So great point. Tunde, please go ahead.
Good evening, and thank you for the presentation. What I want to know is that, okay, identity and access management, I found out that it's really broad. And also in companies, there's something about adequate security, right?
Yes. Please unmute yourself and go ahead.
Okay, so there's something about adequate security and identity and access management. So I found out that IAM is very broad, right? And the purpose of a company is to make money at the end of the day. From your experience, right, in working with companies, what are the ways that companies are able to manage the cost while providing adequate security in terms of IAM?
Great question, Tunde. So yes, every company, even for non-profits, they are in it to make profits, right? If you're a non-profit and you are bleeding, then you are going to go out of business, right? So every company, regardless of how you define yourself, you are in there to make sure at least the company is moving from point A to point B. Now, how do we do that? By not overly investing in identity and access management tools, but still be able to keep a good security posture when it comes to identity and access management is knowing the principles. One, first off, without even knowing anything, you have to understand how your company functions and how your company operates, right? That will help you to really identify your company's unique needs and situation. Now, some companies, they don't do that. Security professionals who are up there, up the food chain, they just keep piling up almost the same type of security tools in terms of identity and access management tools. So they might be using Okta and 3 other similar tools because somebody just convinced them that this is going to solve all your problems for you. In security, it is not your software solution that is going to solve your problem for you. You are the problem solver. So it is you who, we as security professionals, we have to put in the processes. We have to be the ones stacking up the layers of defense. So some folks, they get into that space of, they think the software or that solution, like that software is going to fix all their problems once they purchase it. And these softwares, they are not cheap. The cheapest one, you're probably going to get like $80, 80,000 for a year for like an average size company. So for huge companies, they are really paying a lot of money for this. So we have to, one, understand our company's unique situation. Two, understand identity and access management well, whereby we can do the bare minimum and still stay on the right side of security. So it's not stacking up software, expensive software that is going to make you secure. It is knowing which principles to use, which processes to implement, right? How to train your folks, staff. So looking at security from the holistic approach of people, technology, and processes, not just focusing on technology and just putting all your money in there, which technology is not going to fix all your problems, right? So I've seen it all. Companies who are doing well when it comes to this space, companies who are just, some companies, they even, like some of them have lost count of how many softwares they have. Name it. And those companies, like you go in there and they have like problems, like they are still using default username and passwords. And they have almost like $200,000 software that they are using. Like, how is that software going to help you to do anything if you are still using default usernames and passwords? So sometimes, like, you just don't know how some of these people got in the positions they are, or they just don't care. So I can talk about that all day. Go ahead, Oscar. Oh, I think.
Hi, Dr. Edu, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Yeah, Doc, thanks for all you've been doing. I want to find out with the fundamental course, does it include the intensive and the training on hand-on training? And what is the difference between the intensive and the hand-on training?
Okay, so for our entry-level course, it includes the hands-on training, the internship, and then also you are going to go through foundational knowledge, not just foundational, but build you foundationally all the way up to intermediate level knowledge. So the hands-on training, we walk you through how to build your own cybersecurity lab, how to download, configure, and use some of the popular, cybersecurity tools like Nexus, Splunk, Qualys, and the rest. And then also virtualization itself, expose you to virtualization, how to set up a virtual environment, how to set up vulnerable machines, do scans, and the rest, right? Now, the internship, the focus is not really on tools, how to set up a virtual lab, and those, for the internship, we actually do what we are discussing here, right? Strategy, how to put layers upon layers in defense, how to do an assessment of your organization's security posture, how do you respond to incidents when they do occur, how do you set up an incident response program, how do you set up an incident response team, like the things that you cannot use tools to do, right? The things that tools cannot do for you, pretty much, right? And that is what sets you apart as a security professional. A tool cannot think for you and do a security posture assessment of your company. It can do some of it to some extent, right? But your tool cannot be interviewing people and asking them probing questions to be able to understand what really they do in terms of processes. So we build you up on that side for you to become a full-blown security professional who is dynamic, and you can work in different job roles, right? So some of our students, they will finish, they get security analyst jobs, some will get third-party risk management jobs, some will get GRC jobs. And why are they able to function in these different areas at different hierarchies in the food chain? Is because of the type of training that we take you through, right? You are going up, down the ladder. You are getting exposed to different, aspects of security at different viewpoints. So anywhere that you find yourself, you understand security really well, either as a manager or either as a practitioner, as a senior practitioner, as part of the top management, name it, you'll be able to function efficiently. That is the word. Right. So hopefully that helps, Oscar. Now, Frank, please go ahead.
Yes, hi, Dr. Edu, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Right, so I just wanted to add something to what Susanna said. Yeah, she has a point, but I think it's like the Y2K when computers were taken over.
Yeah.
So I think in every situation there, without computers, there will not be cybersecurity jobs today.
Mm-hmm.
So I think in every situation, there will be new opportunities that will also come up as a result of AI coming in and all that. So I think there will also be some positive as the years go by, and there will be new opportunities out of the AI or new jobs that will also be created out of the AI. So that's what I wanted to add.
Thank you, Frank. Great point.
And Dr. Edu, can you please give me a call after the training if you don't mind?
Okay. We will link
All
up.
right, thank you.
All right.
Thank you. Bye.
Okay. Eliku, please go ahead.
Good evening. I wanted to, first of all, thank you for a great presentation, and I just wanted to add a few remarks on the IAM. So basically, it's a skill that we need not just on a job, but in our own personal lives, because we have to work with electronics and those things that expose us to whatever risks also businesses have in terms of people trying to steal your identity, to get access to your money in the bank if you have any, or to get access to your home and things like that. So being aware that it's a skill or task that you have to use in your own daily lives, as well as, get paid if we learn, of course, we acquire the right skills, then that makes it quite a very important aspect of cybersecurity, both in personal lives and in businesses. Also, I just wanted to make a comment on the lady, I believe it's Susan, who was talking about IT taking over, in people's jobs. I think IT, the main thrust is to improve efficiency. However, there are certain things that IT cannot do without a person being behind that. And there's certain, for example, things that require human judgment. A machine could never do that. I remember there was a time when people would, they improved, I think, in Kenya. I'm from Kenya. So in Kenya, we grow tea. And many times, they have introduced these small machines that will harvest tea, but always the quality is never the same as the tea that is hand-picked. So that tea fetches a premium price compared to the tea that is picked by machines. So it's true that machines will improve efficiency and it will, improve productivity, but still we always need human judgment. And so as much as IT can improve and reduce the need for certain skills, the requirement of human judgment will always be there. So it's up to us to decide based on, what's going on, the trends, the technology, how best can we leverage our human skills to take advantage and make a living in the cybersecurity space. So that's just my contribution. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. I think we'll move on to Carl. Please go ahead.
Yeah, thank you very much, Dr. Lenterot, today. Mike, I'm really interested in the PCI DSS course. I think you've answered some of my questions already, but I was just like, is it a course that would take you to the different frameworks? Like some of my research, there's the framework of the RICS management framework. There is also the ISO. There is also we have the NIST. So like with the course, the PCI DSS, do we have as we go through the course, can we be able to, because I'm actually coming from Germany and presently looking at some of the job offers, I find a bit less PCI DSS, but like I said, I'm really interested. I've seen some, but I see most, RMF, ISO. So I wanted to ask if your course also will be able to provide the knowledge and the skills needed. Thank you very much, Doctor.
Oh, thank you. So I think. Okay, so for what you are asking is our cybersecurity entry level together with the internship will really get you where you want to go to. And the PCI is a beast on its own, right? So even if we dive into other frameworks, it's just going to be an introductory part of those frameworks, right? We cannot really go in depth into, let's say, ISO 27701 or HIPAA or the rest together with PCI. For folks who've taken the PCI class, PCI is a beast on its own, right? Now, when you are looking for PCI jobs, if you just type in PCI, like if we've not really shown you how a PCI job looks like, for a job that is, talking about everything else, and then it will mention PCI, you have to know PCI. That is not a PCI job, right? Like those jobs will mention, you need to know PCI, ISO, NIST, maybe 800 dash, something, right? Those jobs, they are more GRC based, and even for the frameworks they are listing, they don't expect you to be an expert in any of them. You just have to know what they're about and kind of understand them, right? Because for you to be a master of HIPAA, GDPR, ISO, it's going to take you a while. So for the PCI, our main focus is on PCI to make you a very holistic PCI subject matter expert. But then we also really very much acknowledge the fact that you are first a cybersecurity professional first. So we take you through 3 weeks of cybersecurity crash course, right, where we touch on, big areas of security like identity and access management, cryptography, and the rest, right? But if you want to get exposure to more frameworks than just PCI, for our cybersecurity entry level course, that comes with the internship or even just the internship, at least you get exposed to CIS controls, NIST, cybersecurity framework, and ISO. Now we are adding ISO to it also as well, ISO 27701, and you actually go through using them to do assessments for your organization and doing gap analysis, from whatever the initial assessment is and creating baselines and the rest. So you are going to get more from that. based on what you just said, if that is your goal. And we have students who go through the entry level, who are ISOs, who are working in, RMF space, right? So that will be the best goal. Like that will be your best target, not goal, like your best target, or like what we have that we think might help you get to where you need to go. So hopefully that helps. O'Brien, please go ahead.
All right, so my interest is in the IAM course. When is it starting? What is the terms of payment?
So if maybe you can clarify that a little bit. Identity and access management course?
Yes.
Okay, so that will be in the entry level course.
Hello?
Yeah, that will be in the entry level. So the entry level covers identity and access management in there as a module, as a like a big module, right? And you are going to go through other areas that you need to be able to function effectively as an identity and access management professional. So you can't just do identity and access management in a vacuum. You need to also have a good working knowledge in networking, cryptography, because all of those are going to help you to enforce identity and access management principles and procedures.
Oh, okay, so does it mean all those that you mentioned falls under your cybersecurity course?
Yes, yes.
Oh, okay, so you teach us all as a package?
Yes.
Not
So
only the IAM. Okay.
Yes. So within cybersecurity entry level course, we cover risk management, identity and access management, which we just talked about, cryptography. We cover cybersecurity architecture and design, networking and networking technologies. What else am I missing? We cover 10 major modules, right? Which are the biggest areas of cybersecurity that you need to have a good working knowledge. And all those areas, they overlap, right? Some folks will say, I don't want to be technical, so I don't like the networking part. I mean, you are deceiving yourself. But then, after saying that, but I just want to do GRC because it's easy. Like, what are you going to do in GRC if you are doing audits in GRC, or I just want to do auditing? How are you going to audit somebody's infrastructure if you don't understand like the basic principles of networking, right? So now you go in there, they have an identity and access management setup. Now they have some protocols that are running that are unsecured. You don't know which ones are secured, which ones are not secured. How are you going to audit them? Right.
So how much do you charge for your cyber course? Oh,
for entry level is 5,500. But we are doing, if you are at the beginning of the whole presentation, we're doing a promotion for 40% off for the month of October.
Thank you.
Because it's Cybersecurity Awareness Month and it's Dr. Edu's birthday, so extra 10%.
Roger that.
Okay.
Yeah, but it seems when you give 40% off, it doesn't cut across the whole payment plan, just for a portion. Because I recommended someone and then the person had an interest in it, but then your discount, she couldn't do it because the discount that you applied, it's only for those paying outright, but not on installment.
Okay, so
please, this time cut it across, please.
Okay, so like let me just walk you through that also space. We really thought about maybe at least doing some. So for the installment payments, for us, like the discount is the no interest part of it, right? So you can pay over 8 months. They're about 9 months with no interest. So that is the discount right there. Now, if we want to do a discount for all the installment payments, somebody wants to do 4 months, somebody wants to do 3 months, somebody wants to do 8 months, right? How is the discount going to apply? Now, if you go to the website and you choose 2 months or 3 months, like the discount, they only apply to like one payment option. So we cannot have like 8 different payment options just for one course. Hopefully that makes sense. Right. So that is why if you want to take advantage of that, then for one-time payments, you are saving yourself a whole lot if you're going to pay. And then also for somebody who is doing installment payments, they are also saving on the interest. So that is the argument that our team, we keep going back and forth on. But I think, but frankly, for this month, I was trying to pull the Dr. Edu's birthday. So I wanted to do 10% on all installment payments, but we are still trying to figure that out. Because that is not really easy to pull off. On the technical side, I mean, just for how it is going to work with the different installment payment options. But hopefully maybe we'll be able to come up with something, maybe probably Monday, Tuesday. But I was really pushing for that, just to let you know.
All right, thank you.
All right. Daniel, please go ahead. And then Felix, Teresa, Leonard, and Ifoma. And I think Tunde spoke already. Florentina. Or Tunde's hand is still up from previous or for? Okay, Daniel,
it's a new one, but I'll go with the flow.
Okay. Then we are going to get back to you eventually. Daniel, please go ahead.
Hi, Dr. Edu. Thank you very much for the presentation. My questions are quite, I think, are two. The security entry level, what certification does it qualify you for?
Oh, for Security Plus and Security Analyst. You can sit for Security Plus and Security Analyst after the entry level course.
And do you have any package that you allow your student to write for certification?
What do you mean by package?
Like after your security entry level, do you have any? Yeah.
Yeah, so if I didn't get ahead of you, we have 20% off on your voucher. If maybe that is what you are looking at.
Yeah, no, what I'm looking at, do you prepare your students to write for any certification?
No, so like the training that you're going through, right? So let me just brief everybody on this. Now, in the security space, you can do two things. One, you can either focus on what to do on the job, so learn the skills and knowledge for the job, or focus on passing a certification. Now, if you focus on the skill set that you are going to use to work on the job, you can easily pass every certification. Now, if you focus on how to pass a certification, you can only pass that certification. You are going to be struggling at work. And even if you want to jump onto a different certification, you have to go through the same principles of maybe going through it, just preparing for that certification, right? So for us, this training, our goal is what are you going to do on the job? That is the most important, because on the job, your certification is not going to help you. It's what you know and what you can do, right? And if you know and you can do, on the certification exam, when you read it, you understand what is going on, so you'll be able to answer it on your own merit and pass. Right. So
yeah, thank you. Thank you.
With that being said,
how long?
So just to wrap up real quick, with that being said, for the exam, you need to actually go through to see how their questions are and to practice your speed and all that, right? Because for Security Plus, for instance, you have 90 minutes to answer 82, 84 questions or almost 90 questions. So at least you have to practice your speed, right? So that we have some practice tests that you are going to go through and the rest. And you're asking about like duration of the course. So for the entry level, the main course is self-paced with one-on-one help when needed. You can always make an appointment for one-on-one help. It's supposed to be 3 months, right? If you are studying an hour a day for 5 days a week, you're supposed to finish in 12 weeks. Now, some folks, I think Michael and Mike are the ones holding the title. They finished in a month and a half because it's self-paced. They put in more hours than they were able to finish earlier. Now, for the internship portion of the training, is 2 months. For that, it's not self-paced, so you can't go around that. You have to follow the cohort. So that is 2 months. You are going to go through the 2 months, right? So at least 3 months and 2 months is what we are looking at.
Okay. Thank you very much, though. I think this will do for now. So after that, then you can actually go ahead and then do any specialization you want, right?
Yes. Yes. So from there you can jump, and like that is what I keep stressing on, right? Because you have such a good foundation. We have students like Noah who got onto their jobs as a cybersecurity analyst. That is what they used to bring him in. Now he got there and they are like, well, you're going to be handling the third-party stuff, right? And he's still functioning there effectively after like 2 years plus. Michael got on his job. He got a job as a cybersecurity, as a GRC specialist. He's functioning, and they both went through the same training, right? Somebody else is doing like some other job title, right? So the job titles, mostly I tell everybody, don't get too hung up on job titles, because your job titles might change, but what you are doing wouldn't change. Have the knowledge and skill to be able to understand what is going on, and you'll be able to work in almost any job title. So once you are done, job titles on the blue side, you can do everything. What we will tell you for a fact you cannot do is you cannot go do any penetration testing stuff, because we are not teaching you penetration testing in this course.
Thank you. That will do for now for me. Thanks.
Okay. Thank you. Go ahead, Felix.
Okay, Dr. Yes, I've come across identity and access management role, and then change management role. Are they the same, or do they overlap? I mean, what's the difference?
Okay, so identity and access management focuses on, you'll be doing identity and access management stuff like authentication, authorization, and the rest. Change management will focus on change management. Now, I'm going to break that also down. Now, within companies, right, the principle behind change management is this. We have to have a structure in place whereby if we want to make changes to anything, aside even security, it has to go through a process, right? So Felix cannot just decide, I'm going to delete all the log files, they are taking too much space, delete, right? If there are no change management processes in place, now maybe Informa will come in, hey, we need this for our PCI audits, where are the files? Felix just deleted it, right? Now you're going back and forth, holding each other by the throat. That shouldn't happen, because now you'll be losing vital information. And also, if it's something that borders on legal compliance, then you are in trouble, right? So change management, there are formal structures we put in place to control changes that we make within the organization. So it cuts across everything within the organization to coding or software development and all that, right? But then identity and access management focuses directly on how to give access to people, how to maintain the access, how to take access from them, how to create access and all that, right? How to prevent unauthorized people from getting onto our network. The change management focuses on when we are making changes, who do we talk to and who has to approve the changes, right? Before we actually execute the change. So, and then also in there, preventing, how do they even call it? Preventing one person from doing the same separation of duties.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you. So Jamal is not going to be the person who is pushing out like the contracts for people to bid, and then he's also the one approving the contracts. He's the same person who is also paying the contractors money. Next, he's paying all that to, his buddy, Tunde, who he's approving his contract, and, he's the one who is inspecting his contract and the one paying him. It doesn't have to work that way. So we have to break it up. Maybe KG is the one making the payment. Daniel is the one who is approving the contract. That way, even if Jamal wants to do some favors to Tunde, it's not possible because KG is not going to pay because the work is not done to standard. Right. So separation of duties is key when it comes to change management. But then when it comes to identity access management, some of the principles that will really spring up will be principle of least privilege, right? And principle of minimalism and the rest. So hopefully that helps. They are not the same.
Yeah, but I have, when it comes to the identity and access management, I think if I'm doing that, I will be assigning roles as well. Is that correct?
Yes, yes, of course.
So if I assign roles and the roles overlap,
Mhm.
there will be like a conflict, as you mentioned. As you mentioned.
So not necessarily, right? If Felix is our HR, and now they have you wear another hat, you are the IT manager. You need access as an IT manager. You need access as HR, right? So once you unwear, if that is a word, you unwear the hat of HR, then they have to take that access and just give you the access of, And when you said you are going to be the one giving privileges, it is not necessarily going to be you. It's going to be your system admin or somebody, system admin like in your IT team, right? So when it comes to access management, you are going to be working closely with your IT team. When it comes to access review, during that meeting is you and your IT folks, not if you are the only cybersecurity person, right? And you are going, and plus HR has to also be there. You go through the list. Is Festus still working here? Yes. Like what is his role now? Oh, he's still the cybersecurity manager. Okay, so he still needs this type of access. Yes, we check him off and we move on to the next person. And you have to do that quarterly. I mean, for most of the frameworks, they'll tell you every annually is when you have to do access review. But frankly, for companies that I have the privilege of speaking to or working with, I'll encourage them to do it quarterly, right? Because maybe let's say Frank left the company and somebody didn't do their job well, and it's been almost 6 months, and we are sitting there waiting to do our access review in a year's time, and all this while he has access to our network, right? Which is a big no-no. So you do it quarterly to catch most of these stuff that maybe people will drop the ball on, and they always do. So hopefully that helps. Go ahead, Teresa.
Hi, Dr. Dude. I have a question and a comment. So for IAM, what are some of the common threats for IAM, if any? Also, my comment is that for all the concerns about AI taking over the work that we are doing, yes, to the clerk in the store, that's a valid concern. To the one in the factory, yes, that is a valid concern. But for us here, I'm thinking that we are in the right space, because with all this AI, they cannot function alone without a human aspect to it, right? Some of them will need human knowledge to fix them, to make them work the way they are intended once they are put out there. So we will be the people to take over and make sure that they work as, the one who made it intended. So for us, I'm thinking that regardless of whatever the AI is taking over, we are in the right space, and we should count ourselves blessed. That's my comment.
Yes. So for like you rightly said, if you're in the security space or you're aspiring to be in the security space, you should be happy about AI, because it's going to help make your life easier, right? Because some of the things that you might probably have to do manually, now you can easily. So an example, if you were supposed to create a security policy and you don't know where the heck you are going to find a template, you can go to GPT and just say, hey, give me a security template for identity and access management. And there you go in a minute or less than that, right? If it's not good enough, regenerate or add this and that to it, right? So you make it, like you have to make it work for you. So, I mean, yes. And also for some of the common threats to identity and access management, the biggest threat is social engineering. Biggest threat, social engineering, because attackers are working around the clock to get your credentials, because that is the new currency. If they have your credentials, they have everything else, right? They can be you at any time of the day, right? And like, how cool is that if you can, today I'm going to be Jamal, just be Jamal and take half of his money. Oh, the next day I'm going to be KG, okay, and take, buy a car in his name. The next day I'm going to be Oscar, right? So if they have your credentials, I mean, So attackers, they are, so social engineering is big, which, phishing attack falls under, is huge. And that is the biggest threat, in my opinion, to identity and access management. So hopefully that helps. Leonard, go ahead.
Hello?
Yes, please go ahead.
Yes, this is more of a job placement assistance related question. Wanted to ask if a job has more than, say, 200 applicants, is it still worth applying to?
So what do you mean if it has 200 applicants?
On LinkedIn, I believe it's LinkedIn, they will actually give you the number or show the number of applicants who have applied for that job. I've seen as many as 600 for a job that was posted 3 days ago or a few days ago.
Yeah, I'll still, if you think like that is a job that you want, I'll still go ahead and apply, because you don't know the 600 or what they are actually using to. Some are like, how do you know if people are even using like blank sheets of paper to submit, thinking they are submitting their resume? So just apply if you think is a job that best suits your skill set and that is what you're looking for. I wouldn't get discouraged by that, frankly.
Okay.
Because, what if they didn't show the number and they had like 3,000 people apply for it? You're still going to apply anyways, right?
True.
So that is, but for like the moral to this is, or the key to this is, make sure you are really up on your keyword or on your keywords game, right? So the trick that I showed, I think like a couple of folks, including yourself, when you're applying for such jobs and you think, okay, this might be competitive, that is where you pull some of the tricks that we learned about, right? So keywords,
right?
And then also you can, white out some of the keywords so they don't, make your resume look lengthy, but then they are on there, and automated systems will pick them, right? So you are going to be part of the first 10 that will be chosen to actually, be seen by a human being.
Okay, good to know. Thank you.
Yes, you're welcome. If you have more, please go ahead.
Good evening, doctor.
Good evening. How are you doing?
I'm fine. Happy birthday. Sorry, I wasn't here last week. I didn't get a mail for the meeting, but so I thought it wasn't holding until later on. I saw it on YouTube and I quickly, but it was already, the meeting was already ending.
Oh.
Thank you for the presentation. Very enlightening, But I have a question. Would you consider what they call it now? This thing called is an app by Google called reCAPTCHA. Would you consider that an authentication method? Because it requires you to do something even after you've put in your username and your password. This thing comes up like a puzzle, and says, okay, arrange this, it comes in different forms. In fact, I have to do it on my Binance app, my cryptocurrency app, every time I have to log in, even after using the authentication, the dual authentication method, I still have to do this arranging of. So would you classify it as something you do?
So the goal behind that is to make sure that you are not robots. And what do I mean by that? Now they have a lot of what we call bots, BOT. They have that running a lot of applications. So just like, for example, people can literally run up their YouTube views within days, right? And like what they do is they have an automated system, AI kind of integration in there, where these software will act as human beings, and they'll keep opening your YouTube videos or like your YouTube, like whatever you have on there, they'll keep opening it as if it was people actually watching it.
Wow.
So we call them bots, and So bots, and if you have like a whole group of it, botnet. So they are using it for different things. So some of these applications, if it is a bot, it is going to, input the username and password. But if you ask it to choose which of the following is a traffic light, it wouldn't be able to do that. Right. So
okay.
and that is why like they have that, and then they also ask you, okay, click here if you're not a robot. So
yeah,
if you're an actual human being, click here and let's see that you're an actual human being. And
yes,
sometimes they also have a way around it, but yeah, like that is the intent of not for them, not necessarily
authentication. It's not an identification. It's okay. It's not a verification method. Then it
so
just
it is still going to kind of fall under, because they still want to distinguish between who you really are, if it is actually you as a human being, not like a robot.
human being, not as the person you register to be.
Yes.
Okay.
So
then I
it will
wanted
still
to
fall under that space. Yes.
Okay, and then regarding the person who spoke about AI, I have a comment to make there, because I think we need to look at it this way. AI is a very large language model. It's running on machines, it's running on computers. And I think we're in the right space for the future, because the world is becoming more and more digitalized. So I don't think there's a problem with those of us who are in the IT and cybersecurity losing our jobs, because no matter how much AI you have, you still need systems to manage AI. You need cybersecurity principles, because AI is in the cyberspace. So I really wouldn't worry about that. But of course, if you have a job that can be replaced, definitely be worried. But I think we are safe in this space. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Jermaine, go ahead. Please unmute yourself. Okay, then I think Robert will go instead. Robert, and then we will
hello.
have...
Yeah.
Yes, go ahead.
Hello,
Robert.
Dr. Edu.
Yes.
Yeah. I want to ask this question. So do you need so Security Plus, does it encompasses Network Plus and A Plus? Like, are you supposed to learn A Plus, then you transition to Network Plus before you can take the Security Plus, so you understand it more? Or you can just go straight ahead and take the Security Plus? Because I had a friend who is going through this channel, and he said it's just a process. So before you get a Security Plus, you need to have a knowledge in A Plus, then you need to have a knowledge in Network Plus, so it will become more easier for you.
Okay.
Is it like that, or you can just go straight ahead and just do the Security Plus?
Yeah, you can just go straight for Security Plus. Now,
okay.
There are two ways of looking at this. So for CompTIA, right, their career path in terms of certifications, they encourage you to start with A plus and then move to Security Plus. So like the hierarchy is A plus, Security Plus, no, A plus, Network Plus, Security Plus, and then Security Analyst or Pen Test, and then you move to CAPS, the last one. Now, you don't need to start necessarily from Network Plus or from A plus. You can just jump straight into Network to Security Plus. Now, caveat to that is, if you have no IT background, zero, right? You can still start with Security Plus, but you are going to be doing twice the work.
Oh, okay.
Because maybe if we are talking about modems, we are talking about firewalls, you have no clue what they are. We are talking about like basic things that if you were already in IT, you know, but still it is not something that you cannot catch up on, right? Because like Security Plus, like the exam objectives, they are not really directly related to Network Plus or A plus. So you can master A plus and Network Plus all you want. If you get onto Security Plus and you still don't master or prepare for Security Plus, you are going to fail.
Got it. Okay.
Yes. So you can do it,
Alright.
but if you have no zero IT background, it's still doable, but you just have to do a little bit more work than
Pretty much
somebody.
more effort.
Yes, somebody who actually went through Network Plus, or they know networking to a certain point. Now, for like Network Plus is supposed to make you kind of a network subject matter expert, even if it's at the entry level. But the focus is on how to actually set up your network and all that. Now, the networking aspect of Security Plus focuses on a working knowledge as a security professional, right? So you should know which ports and protocols are vulnerable, which ones are secured, which ones are not secured. Not for you to be laying wires and know which wire is what and which one is used for which connection. I mean, like, that is really not going to be your job.
Okay, okay. Yeah, thank you very much.
All right, you're welcome.
Can I go now?
Go ahead. Yes.
Oh, okay. Thank you, Dr. Joe. I just want to see if we can please relate identity and access management to zero trust architecture. Let's talk a little bit about that. How are both related?
Please, wait, you said, how is identity and access management and cybersecurity architecture related? Like, what was that your question, you mean? I'm not sure. Like, so I'm just going to answer it. I'm assuming that was your question, right? So if that was your question, then they are very much related. They are like brothers.
Zero trust architecture.
Oh, zero trust architecture. Okay. Oh, that even makes it even better. Zero trust architecture is like the son of identity and access management, right? Now, zero trust architecture, for anyone on here who is not familiar, so it's a concept fairly new that I think only NIST has a full-blown publication on it, right? So zero trust, what zero trust is this. Prior to zero trust, if you were anything that was outside our network was considered bad network or bad. So before we allowed anything outside to come in, we had to scrutinize it and make sure, they were clean enough for us to accept them onto our network in terms of they don't have any malware or anything of that sort, right? Now, come to find out, even people within our systems within our network can still cause problems, So zero trust simply says that we don't trust anybody even within our network. So if you need to move from one room in our network to another room in our network, you need to authenticate yourself and get authorization before we allow you into different area, even though you are inside our network. Okay, so that is zero trust architecture, the principle behind it. Now, when it comes to identity and access management, now it is also zero trust, kind of added to what identity and access management has been preaching for all these years, right? That is levels of privilege. So we shouldn't just be handing over privilege to folks like his candy within the organization, or like we are doing them a favor. We have to make sure that people really, like privileges that they have is what they need to be able to work within the organization. So zero trust architecture now plays a big role because it helps us to reinforce the fact that we should practice principle of least privilege. Okay, so hopefully that helps.
So, and you can we still keep the single sign-on? Because if you have to authenticate yourself, then the single sign-on, what are we doing with the single sign-on?
So single sign-on is for different organizations that want to make life easier for their users, right? So for example, if you go to Facebook and you want to sign up, Facebook can allow you to use your Google account to sign in without creating a username and password on Facebook. If you want to go to a different app, Now you can choose not to create a username and password for that app. You can just use Google or any other platform that application you are trying to sign up on trusts, or they have that trust relationship, right? So single sign-on or the SSO is still like the main idea behind it is still, it still falls back to identity and access management, because instead of creating new username and like new credentials, they know that Google has verified you already. So if Google says you are good and they trust Google, then they are going to allow you to use your Google details to sign on. So they are all still under identity and access management. Suzanne,
thank you.
Suzanne, go ahead, and then Festus and Olubomi, and then DJ will go.
Okay.
Yes, go ahead.
I wanted to find out if your company helps to get jobs. I heard something about an internship, so I wanted to be sure of that. Yeah, so the with our internship, it's more on workshops / internship. You are going to work with one of our sister companies. We are going to be doing projects for them, but you are not going to get it, like you're not going to be employed by them after you've done. Oh, okay. So you
But when
look
it
for
comes
your
to
own...
no, okay. So maybe when it comes to job placement, helping you find a job, it is part of like what we do for the entry-level students and even for PCI also as well. So resume rewrite, interview prep, you know, how to answer your interview questions. If you go into an interview, what are some of the possible questions they're asking you? How to read a job description and prepare for the interview, right? Yes.
And is there a particular time where I can call? I tried calling last week, but I wasn't successful.
Oh, so if like the calling doesn't, just like shoot a text or a quick email will do. I think we were super busy. We are doing an assessment, so we're kind of all over the place. Yeah. So sorry about that. You can always shoot an email or a text. Like yes, that will work.
All right. Thank you.
All right. You're welcome. Festus, go ahead.
Yeah, good evening, doctor. So
yes, good evening.
piggyback on what the gentleman talked about, the Security Plus. So I was led to understand that I have to do from A Plus, Network Plus, Security Plus, and now I'm at the verge of doing a system analyst. However, I did your the PCI introductory course and the introduction to cybersecurity. So I want to understand what is the difference between the is it the internship and the other one that you do, and what's your advice on which one of them to take actually?
Okay, so you're asking the difference between the cybersecurity internship and which other training?
And there is one is a cybersecurity workshop, or I think you have two of those after the introduction. There is
oh, the cybersecurity entry level and the internship.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So the entry level covers the internship as well, right? But there are some people who don't want to go through the entry level, they just want the internship. So that is why we have it like separated. But frankly, the entry level gave birth to the internship. So if you take the entry level, everything is involved, the hands-on training, the internship, all that is involved in the entry level.
Okay, and lastly, I tried getting in touch with your office, was it this week, but I couldn't get anyone. And I also want your personal email, please.
Oh, okay, personal email, super easy. Emmanuel.edu@Eretmis. I'll post it in here for everyone.
Okay, thank you very much, sir.
Yes, you are welcome. And please go ahead. Yes. I think like the next in line is, it was Festus. If you've unmuted yourself, and then Olu will go.
Yeah, I think my question was answered by the speaker that just spoke, so I'm good.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
Good evening. Thank you, Dr. Ejo, for the opportunity. Actually, the question, one of the questions I had in mind has been answered.
It's about job placement. So I just want to ask again, in addition, that after doing the jobs for the lesser sister company, the internship, are we allowed to put such on our resume that we've worked in that capacity?
Yes, of course,
And,
you did. You did work there.
Oh, okay. And will Eretmis help us, not just help us prepare resume, like help us get the job and prepare us for the interview?
Yes, yes. So we do that also as well.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, you're welcome. I think Festus, you are still muted. Maybe you're having issues with audio. Go ahead, Arini, and then Prince will go.
Yeah, Doc, my question is, some people are having problems with the fact that AI is taking their job or AI is going to take our job. They should look.
Directions.
Are you hearing me?
Yes, yes, go ahead, please.
Look at it from the fact that AI is rather going to enhance the work that the cybersecurity professionals are going to do, because all this intrusion detection system and all the products the companies are developing. One, it is going to do what we call creative distraction. It is going to destroy the existing ones which are not very efficient, and bring in efficient ones which will be run by AI. So when AI is running, the supervising body or the person controlling the AI will be the cybersecurity professional. So we should rather focus on constantly developing our skills in order to ensure that whenever there is an accelerated change or any complexities or any extreme competition that the AI brings, we are positioned to be able to take the advantage of that. That's my contribution. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And so we are going to wrap up. We'll just speak briefly, and then we go to Lomju, and then Matt and Kweku and Olua, and then that will be it for tonight. So please go ahead, Prince, if you can keep it a little bit brief for us.
Yes, I will. I'll have a follow-up question on the PCI DSS training. How long is the program, or is the training? And also, after this cohort, when is the next cohort?
So the live sessions, we start them every month and a half. So this one is starting October, a little bit late. The next one is probably going to start December, early parts of December, probably before the 15th, right? Is when the next cohort is going to start for the live session. Now, like I said, when you sign up, you are going to have access to the online version and the live session. So you can sign up at any time and wait for when there's a live session, or if you want to wait till there's a live session and sign up, either or, you're still going to have access to both, right? And then you're asking about the duration. So for the specialist, it's 3 months of training, a month of internship, and mostly it's like a month and 2 weeks. For the expert, is 4 months of training and 2 months of internship, which there is always and the 2 weeks is just for the project your team will be working on, might have completed by the end of the internship. So we give you that extra time, and we still discuss. Once you are done, then we wrap it out all up.
Okay, so let's say if I take advantage of the discount and I don't have time to join this current cohort, I can still wait and do the next cohort that will start in December.
So whilst you're waiting, you can be going through the online version of the course.
Okay.
Right. So yes, you just don't have to. So it's the live session that maybe you wait till December, but you can literally go through. And some people, what they do is they'll go through, if they are comfortable enough with the online version, they'll go through that, and then they'll jump internship that will be starting by the time they should have been starting their online version, right? So, but for the internship, you have to come to the live session for us to do the internship. Yes. So, but you can start the online version at any time and then jump into the online version when there's a new one starting.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Yes, you're welcome. And then also our WhatsApp group was posted in there. So please, anybody who is interested to join can also join that as well. Prince, your hand is down. Maybe Prince had the same. Go ahead. Cool. You can go ahead.
Okay, Dr. Du, Dr. Du, thank you for the opportunity. I know today's discussion centered on IAM, and just a while ago, you also mentioned something about zero trust. Now, I want to find out from what is your take on physical identity and access management in terms of achieving zero trust within IAM?
So zero trust, implementing zero trust in terms of physical assets, physical access management.
Physical identity access management. Yeah. What do you call? They shortly call it. Yeah.
Okay. So I think that like when it really comes to the application of it, that like the principles don't really change if it is we are implementing it on the logical side or on the physical side. Right. So all that we are trying to do is even on the physical side, we have to be more vigilant, in my opinion, right? Because social engineers, they are able to gain more, or they are very successful on the physical side than on the logical side. You know, I mean, you cannot trick a firewall if it has been said and it has these ACLs. Like that is what is going to follow, right? If it's a stateful one, then it's even worse. It will pick up on some anomalies and then it's just going to shut everything down. Now, if you are a security guard, you know, if I'm passing by every day and I'm saying hi, good morning, hi, and then one day I just chance in there, you know, can I use your restroom real quick, please? And I look like I'm going to pee on myself. You are going to allow me in.
Right.
Right. But, you know, you're supposed to be the one in charge of physical security. Now, for folks who are also within the company, the fact that they are working in there doesn't mean you should allow them into all areas because of that familiarity that you have with them. If you are the one monitoring, or they are trying to piggyback, or they are trying to do, you know, like any of those tricks, we should. So I'll say for the physical side, I'll say since when it comes to the three people, processes, and technology, is the people who manages the physical side more. Our focus, if you really want to implement as well, first off, we have to educate people on what it is.
Right.
And two, to also let them know some of the social engineering tricks that borders on the physical aspect of our organizational setup. Maybe, hopefully, but when it comes to like the principle of like the general principle of zero trust as it pertains to the logical aspect or the logical implementation and physical, it doesn't really change. It still remains the same, but the implementation kind of will change a little bit because this is on the logical side, this is on the physical side. So hopefully that helps.
Gotcha. Yeah, thank you.
Yes, you're welcome. Olua, please go ahead.
Good evening, Dr. Edu.
Good evening.
Thanks for what you do. So for me, my question is, I kind of have a job offer right now. So, but I'm kind of looking for hands-on experience on GRC tools. So I just want to know if part of the internship has you have any tools that I can actually have access to while taking the internship.
Okay, so like what tools exactly do you have in mind? Because you know,
Look, yeah, kind of like vendor risk management tools like OnSpring, ServiceNow, maybe OneTrust.
Okay, so we can talk offline. When it comes to the tools, is the hands-on training that has all the tools. Now, when it comes to the internship, we use the biggest tool in cybersecurity, the most, right? Anybody knows the biggest tool in cybersecurity?
Yeah, Excel or spreadsheet.
Of course, of course, right? And simply because like what I said, right? We can limit we can limit ourselves to these tools, but then you go out on the job and they'll be using something totally different. But if even for the hands-on, we touch on some of the major ones in the major categories. So like SIM, we will touch on one. Vulnerability scanning, we will touch on one or two. So if you find a vulnerability scanner or a vulnerability tool anywhere, they are all almost the same. So you can easily, yes. And even for like the trouble that you go through in setting up a virtual environment and all that, that also makes you really unscared of any tool that you encounter. So you can easily, maneuver your way around, like the tool is not going to blast the whole entire company into fumes, right? Some people are so scared, they think if I don't, click it right or press the wrong button, then it's going to turn into a bomb. Now, if you've been struggling with a virtual machine for like a week, nothing is off limits to you. So for what you are looking for me, I would say, frankly, look, if your company is using these specific tools that you are looking for, that you are looking to school yourself on, that is fine. If not, then focus on the actual doing of the job, the strategy that you have going into it, how you are going to execute, right? If you have to do an assessment of your organization security posture, how do you go about that? How do you do gap analysis? Because they are all part of what you're going to be doing. Compliance, which areas do they have to stay in compliance with, which frameworks? Start schooling yourself up on those frameworks, right? That is going to help you more than just learning 2 or 3 tools. Because the tools, if let's say your company, right now, if Eretmis develops a tool and we want to sell it to your company, guess what Eretmis is going to do? We are going to come there smiling ear to ear, and now we are going to teach everybody how to use the tool. But if you don't teach you, nobody cares about our tool, and eventually you're going to stop using it. So we have to always be there smiling and teaching. So we are going to teach you for free, right? How to use it. Right. So
thanks so much.
Yes.
And for everyone applying, just with tips of advice, like for me, I don't really go for, when I see a job that is easy apply, 300 people already apply, I don't go for it. I take my time to go for jobs that is less than 100 and kind of take my time to tailor my resume. So that was the technique I use in securing the job I have right now. Thanks so much, sir.
Thank you. And thank you for your insight also as well. So Matt and I think Kweku spoke already. So I'm going to lower Kweku's hand. Matt, you are still, go ahead, please, if you still have a question.
Good evening, Doc. So my question is, what's your take on cookie acceptance on when you're browsing on the website? Because sometimes you see some descriptions that are really like mind-boggling, and it kind of worries me when I see some descriptions about accepting cookies that I'm not comfortable with.
Mostly what I'll say is, if you really have an issue with that, then just, ignore the website, right? If I go to certain website and you're asking me stuff that I don't want to provide, I just ignore them and I just move on. Now, for websites that you have no option but to stay on there and do whatever you have to do, then also you have no option but to accept it, because sometimes if you don't accept it, it's not going to make you move forward with what you want to do, right? Or sometimes if you decline it, then the website is also going to, disappear with it, right? So mostly now we don't really have much, especially in the United States, we don't really have much when it comes to our data privacy, because there is no unique data privacy for the whole entire country, right? Unlike Europe, where they have GDPR, I can, accept your cookies all day, but then guess what? I can individually, I can even take you to court as a company. Say you didn't use my data as, agreed on, or let me see how you are using my data. And you have to provide or produce it, right? So for us here on this, we don't really have that much The only option that we have is to actually not to go to the website or to use it. So hopefully that helps.
Thank you, Doc.
Right. So we are going to wrap up, but I said Magic's hand is up. Please make it quick and then we wrap up because we are almost way above time.
I wanted to be the last person.
Okay.
Yeah. So when I finish, then that's it. Please, Dr. Du, I want to know, in private browsing, is it safer to browse privately, like when you are using your Windows, like incognito, and then Apple too, can you use your private browser? And is it safe online? That is my first question. And my second question is, which type of VPN is the best when you are online to browse?
Okay, so I'll start with the last one. So for VPNs, they all kind of work the same, right? So, I mean, they have big brands out there. For us as a company, we use NordVPN, not to really endorse, like, we really don't have any emotional feelings attached to any of these VPNs. Like the one that will work easy and simple to set up is what we go with. But like the rest that are on there, if they've been around for a while, I'll go with them. They are good. And then also being safe online, if you are transmitting over HTTPS, you are safe, right? Now, that is, you are safe to a certain point. If you are clicking on stuff you don't have to be clicking on, then obviously you are not safe. But if you are transmitting, if you are not transmitting on HTTP, but on HTTPS, then we will say you are good, right? So it's not necessarily that.
Okay, so does it mean that private browsing is not all that safe 100% when you are online?
So with that, you are not really, because you are still interacting on an open network, right? So if you are using a VPN, you are trying to hide your own public VPN, yeah, your own like public IP address, and you are using the one from the VPN company, right? But all those, I mean, even with that, it's just giving you a false sense of privacy, because when something really goes down, any forensics investigator who is worth his salt will be able to easily undo your VPN and find you behind the VPN. So, but for the VPN, for the most part, mostly if you are trying to trick a system that has like a location tag to it. So if you are not in a certain location, you wouldn't be able to access then, you know, because I remember like 2 weeks ago, or a while ago, like I was doing some projects in Europe, and I was in the States trying to log into a system over there, and it didn't allow me, and I couldn't, like, oh, okay, I just turned my VPN on, selected, I think it was like Ireland or UK, and then, but like I just went to the website again, it opened, like, oh, okay, I see how it is, right? But I wasn't there. I was just tricking the system to allow me in, because it was picking on IP addresses and either shutting me off or like. So they've set up their identity and access management. Their access control is also based on your location. So attribute-based access control, right? So because I wasn't in that, it is picking up on my IP address and identifying my location, and it's either allowing me access or denying me access. But when I use the VPN, I assume the IP address of the VPN, which was in the UK, right? But I wasn't there. So that are some of, like, these are some of the cool ways of using VPN. But frankly, in terms of safety, or somebody being able to find you, because if you use VPN to commit a crime, they will find you. And guess who is going to be the first to shout your public IP address to the feds? The VPN company.
Yeah.
Oh, it was him. It was him.
Okay.
Like, they're just going to give you away like that, right? So it's just some false sense of safety that we assume. If you are not using it for anything bad and you are using it to protect yourself from the normal unskilled attackers, then you are good, right? But
Okay.
Any skilled attacker will be able to just, break through your VPN and find it.
All right. Thank you.
All right, Sir Magic. So wrapping it up now. I think after Sir Magic, Bernard also wants to beat Sir Magic to being the last person. Okay, Bernard, go ahead and we are wrapping up.
Yes, thank you, sir. And thank you so much for everything. I just wanted to piggyback on the VPN thing. With the question he has whether it's safe or not. The safety of VPN depends on, first and foremost, the configuration. And so when the configuration is weak, people can break it and then have access to your network. But if it's as strong and very well encrypted, then I think you are safe to go. That's all that I wanted to add to what you said.
Okay, thank you, Bernard. I appreciate everybody's input. It's always insightful. I also learn a lot from everybody. And always, we are on here Saturdays, past our time all the time. I appreciate everybody's time. And I know, what we are learning here is going to pay off in 100-fold. Oh yeah, so Susan is saying you were competing for the closing prayer. Yes, I think Bernard and Sir Magic, they both won on that one. So I appreciate everybody's time. We're wrapping up for tonight. We will meet again next week for Cyber Chat. And also during the week, if you want to take advantage of the 40% or you want to send it to any friends that you know who might want to take advantage of it. And then also for Cyber Chat, please invite a friend, for each of these chats for them to also get a Cybersecurity Awareness Month, right? Let's expose our friends and family to cybersecurity for them to even know, this is there. These are the things that we do in cybersecurity, the discussions that go on, and that will help spread the word about cybersecurity, right? All right, everyone. Thank you very much for your time. I'm Dr. Emmanuel Ledoux. We are signing off for tonight. And for our winners for tonight, almost forgot about that. Our winners, hopefully they all stayed on there until the end. So our winners, we had Samuel Odro and Jason Stone, right? And the criteria for them, this for like tonight's meeting was time, right? Who showed up early? So it was Samuel first, and then Jason second before everybody else. So next week is not going to be time based; it's going to be something else, right? So we just keep switching up, just to make it fun. But the goal is to help and also pick at random. So that like the random today was if you showed up early. So next week we are going to use something else as the criteria. All right, everyone, have a great weekend. We are going to meet next week, Saturday, for another edition of Cyber Chats, and all classes going PCI and the rest are still going to go on during the week. And for interns, we're still meeting tomorrow, same times for each of the groups. Have a great rest of the week and the weekend, and we are going to meet next week, God willing. Have a great time, and then stay safe, everyone. I appreciate everybody's time. Good night.
Good night, Doctor.
Thank you.
Thank you, Doc.
Good night, Captain.
Buenos noches.